And this is our meeting for May. So we welcome you again. We have a couple of presentations. Our first presentation is going to be on the Best Western Project Home Key at 111 South Gaffey. And we have the honor of having our representative from the supervisor, Janice Han, here to do an introduction on the project.
Well, hi, thank you. It's great to be with my neighborhood councils. This is your joint planning and land use committee. So I love the fact that you're hearing this, because it's all about land use, right? Every issue, every problem, and every solution has to do with land use. And so this is the perfect committee for me to talk to. So I wanted to bring this to you as we're in the early stages of this idea. The Volunteers of America approached the County of Los Angeles recently so that we could both jointly apply for funding for Project Home Key 2.0. And we've been awarded $22 million for the purchase of that landmark in San Pedro, the Best Western, that's at First and Gaffey, that's gone through a lot of changes over the years. I think we can all remember when it was a different iteration of the Grand Hotel. And the idea for this site is that we would be able to take off the streets 60 homeless veterans who would then be given interim housing in this hotel and be given, you know, all the services that we know our veterans need right now, those that are living on our streets, you know, substance abuse, health, mental health services, you know, case management, and ultimately the goal for the county, every time we bring people inside off the streets, the goal is always, how do we maybe get these people, you know, a little stability in their life, the services they need, and then eventually move them to more permanent supportive housing. I think there was a lot of ideas about, you know, which homeless would best be served by something like this. But I like the idea of us focusing on our veterans. I just feel like it's one of the more shameful aspects of our society right now is that we have homeless vets that every night are sleeping on our streets. So the Volunteers of America would be the organization that would run this interim housing project. The County of Los Angeles would provide like the oversight to this project. I know, and I think we have Orlando Ward is on here tonight. So he's hi Orlando. He's with Volunteers of America, and he can talk a lot more about the actual project. I know you probably have some questions about it, but you know, for me, I'm all about solutions, right? I am all about solutions, and we just continue to have too many. You know, tonight there'll be like 66,000 people sleeping on our streets in LA County. And yes, we have some shelters, and yes, we are building more affordable housing, but we still need more solutions today. And one of the projects that I worked on a couple of years ago was the interim housing shelter at Beacon and 8th Street. And I believe it worked because it was a vacant county building that was not used for anything. There was a homeless encampment around it. And I thought, we can turn this into a shelter quickly as possible with again, all these wraparound services. And I think it worked because the neighborhood council, you know, bought into it. The Chamber of Commerce bought into it, so much so that the chamber even gave welcome baskets to the first homeless residents that were taken inside that shelter. And I think things work better when we, bring our community along with us when we begin to discuss these kinds of solutions. And of course, you know how I feel about neighborhood councils, right? I love our neighborhood councils. I think you have your finger on the pulse of your community. And I think if you can support a project and if you can shape it even and ask for specific things that you'd like to see have happen here, I really believe it sets it up for success. And I work hard to thread that needle between, protecting our communities, making sure our communities are safe, but also realizing that, we have to step up and provide solutions when they're available. And the reason I love the veteran aspect is because San Pedro is, if nothing else, this week is a perfect example of it with Fleet Week. We're a military town. San Pedro has always welcomed the military. Remember the Navy housing that used to be, up on Western. We have the White Point, the Air Force housing. We have Fort Mac. I mean, this town is a military town. We've always been welcoming to military kids in our schools when their parents are here in our town. And again, this week with Fleet Week, we're welcoming all these sailors from all over. And I don't know, I just like that idea about us. I like that about San Pedro, that we are supportive of our military. And I can't think of anything more, more appropriate than if we step up and say yes to a solution where we could get 60 of our veterans off our streets and get them inside in a nice, safe, clean room. So I believe, I don't know if Ivan, you want to say anything. So it's a project that's happening. We know that the facility must be occupied 12 months from receiving the award from the state. And the provider gets a bonus if they can get it up and running in 8 months. So this is kind of where we are right now, but I really want your input. I want your support, of course. And, I think that's a good location, to be honest with you, First and Gaffey. I think it's a good location. And that's what I will say tonight. Ivan, did you have anything to add? And then I don't know if Orlando wants to say something. I covered it good. Ivan, is that what you're saying? Okay. Orlando, did you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. And thank you so much for your years and years of support and helping us, try to solve homelessness in Los Angeles County. We're excited, the Best Western Project, like has been spoken already, the targeted population is going to be VASH eligible homeless male veterans. It's interesting.
Make sure you let them know what VASH is. They may not know what that means.
Okay. Veterans Administration Supportive Housing, VASH. So that's a supportive housing. It's kind of like Section 8 for veterans. I think that's an easier way to just kind of consume it. And so, interestingly, the latest census from LASA showed there's approximately, and I think this number is low, 225 homeless veterans in SPA 8 in the area in which this will be located. And I think that's an undercount simply because the veterans populations that we've worked with are generally hidden. They're very self-sufficient. They're generally not, where most of the population is. So that number may be larger. So I think it's an appropriate and needed service in the area. We'll own and operate the property. There are approximately 60 resident rooms. Some may be double occupancy. We have found through our Battle Buddies program, in which we have veterans who have transitioned from homelessness into the mainstream, and they are our primary outreach going out to reach out to other veterans, that many of the veterans want that camaraderie of a roommate, of somebody who's been there. with them. And so we're going to make accommodations for that situation because we believe it's therapeutic. And we think it will help the individuals that seek that type of living arrangement. The program will have typical project staffing of this sort, a ratio of 1 to 20, plus security staff. I think it's important to note that, we recognize the fact that the hotel is, commercial property on a commercial street. And we want to make certain that, we're running a good program, but that we're also compatible with the neighborhood in which the property exists. So we're going to have security, and that particular number is going to be determined by the funder. But in general, what you're going to look at is 24-hour coverage of security as well as, staffing during the day. The project itself will include housing, meals, case management, has been spoken, the VASH, the Homeless Veteran Integration Program, in which the VA, along with our case managers, mental health, and substance abuse counselors, help to address the underlying issues that cause the condition of homelessness in the first place. And from there, we're working on getting folks jobs, working on getting people reunited with their families, making sure that they get the maximum benefits that they're eligible for their service. I think it's a very, very good program and one of the better programs that the VA has out there. We will also work with the supervisor, with elected officials, Council District 15, right?
not 13.
For those that were at the last meeting. Along with the community, this group, neighborhood councils, as well as, the Chamber of Commerce and other interested groups to determine a security plan that works for this area. We want to make certain that the veterans are safe, that staff is safe, that the community is very comfortable with the way we're operating. To that end, myself, along with the on-site resident manager, will be available if there are issues that need to be addressed within the community. You'll have my information, both email and cell phone number, as well as the resident manager, who will, to be determined, but you'll have that information as well. The signage will reflect the new ownership. Initially, it's just going to be blank. But as we continue to work with the community, we'll have our name up in a sign some kind of way. And it'll look. And the landscaping, of course, will conform to community standards as appropriate for that property in that particular space. And that's kind of the general overview. Timelines, we are looking at getting folks in there by December 25th, home for Christmas, with a rehab deadline date or target date of April of 2023. So the rehab, changing some of the rooms. I mean, I don't know if y'all visited that particular property, but there's some huge suites in there, much bigger than one individual needs. So we'll look at how we can, officially make those suites into good living areas for multiple individuals. That's kind of the overview. And I've got time, and I'd love to answer questions. If you have any specific questions about the program, about VOA, about myself, whatever you want to ask, I'm here. Am I that good?
Orlando.
Oh.
We have a few questions. Let's see. Let's start with Adele. You're muted, Adele.
I think that it's a wonderful program, and I applaud all of the progress, and I hope we do it real rapidly so we get that bonus. But I am a little unclear. Is this program to purchase the facility or just to rent it for X amount of years for our veterans?
It's to purchase it.
We're purchasing it. We've got $22 million to purchase this hotel.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that was for an area.
Purpose. No, for this purpose.
Okay, for this purpose.
That's wonderful. I think the
it's going
community
to be a wonderful asset to the community.
I think so. Excellent.
We also have Lori Jacobs. Got a question? Lori, can you?
Oh, I have to unmute her. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Diana. I was talking. So, well, first of all, hi, Janice.
Hi, Lori.
So I work with the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, thanks to Janice Hahn. I'm working with Measure H Innovation Funds to address homelessness. So I'm a huge advocate of Project Room Key and Project Home Key. So thank you for doing this. So a couple of questions that I have.
Okay.
One, Janice referred this as interim housing. And
Right.
my understanding was that room keys were actually more of permanent supportive housing where the units have a kitchenette and or you know, they're not having meals delivered. So I'm thrown off by the word interim. And then also, I'm not sure if I heard right that your ratio of case management is 1 to 20.
That's correct.
That's excellent. And then minor, but like what kind of signage are you going to have out there? Will the public understand, or do they need to know what that facility is about? But mainly I want to understand the interim housing because as you know, we have a huge shortage of interim or transitional housing, but we have even a bigger shortage of permanent housing. So
Right.
what's the plan, Orlando?
Yeah, so the term interim, I think is more of a definition of how this population and how we expect this population to transition. So these are VASH eligible individuals, so that is permanent housing. They can stay there forever if they want to. But we have found, you know, running Blue Butterfly, which is our Blue Butterfly Village, which is our family housing for veterans, particularly with single male veterans like you and I, we have different aspirations. Work takes them to other places. They get married, they get reunited with family and kids. So we expect there's going to be a bit more turnover in this project than say our Blue Butterfly Village, which is the family housing for single mothers, which is, we expect them to stay longer as the kids grow up and go through elementary school and high school, et cetera. They need that stability. But to your point, you're absolutely correct about interim housing versus permanent housing. This will be permanent housing by the technical definition of what VASH is.
Bravo, that's great. And you can mark down, and Janice and I even have my contact information, that the COG, or the Council of Governments, is also a strategic partner that would love to be supportive of this project.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll definitely get your information. Okay, you had another question about the signage, right?
Yep.
Okay, it's going to say BOALA somewhere. We'll do it tastefully. We can't keep the Best Western signage. As soon as that ownership changes, they want their BW back. So we're going to give it to them.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and for presenting
Absolutely.
tonight.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. Have a question?
Who?
Pat.
Would you call on Javier?
On you, Pat. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Janice. When I saw you here, when I saw you were here, I went and put on my tie.
I saw that. I was just like, what is Pat wearing? I was just like,
Well, the only one I
wow.
could find
That-
was the only one
I
I could
love
find was a Christmas tie, but that's.
I love it.
He still owns one anyway.
I love it.
Tell me about how the title will be held and what use restrictions there will be that accompany the title. Duration,
we-
for example, things like that.
We will own the property.
It's not permanent, so why?
We will own the property, and it.
Well, let's
Somebody
not
else.
correct him now at this point. So Pat, you asked what are the deed restrictions, or what was your question?
Yeah, sometimes these things, you know, when there's federal money or other money
Oh, yeah.
involved, you can take the title and stuff, but then you're not allowed to sell it for a certain period of time, and you have to use it for certain purposes. You mentioned a few things, you know, use sorts of things for bonuses and whatnot. But can you explain all of that a little bit more? Personally, I don't think, by the way, I wanted to say, I don't think you're going to have any trouble with community acceptance or
No,
security.
that's great. That's good news.
Thank you.
That's really good news.
I think our experience in town with places like Beacon House have been so good that,
True.
yeah. But anyway, can go back to the issue of how long you have to do what you're going to do in that property, and can you sell it or not, and things like that.
So the project home key, and I'll have to get back to you exactly with, the details of that. But I do know there's a covenant that it has to be used for permanent supportive housing for homeless individuals. And there is a duration, and I don't want to misquote and say it's 30 years, 55 years, whatever the case may be, but I do know that there is some language that determines how long we have to keep this particular use. Supervisor, did you have anything on that?
Orlando, I believe it's 30 years. There's a
It's 30
covenant
years,
of
right?
30 years on all Project Home Key sites.
I think it is 30. Thank you, Ivan, because I get it mixed up with some of our other projects which have a 55-year covenant. So, but I can also double check on that, and I can get back to this group with the answer in writing. I have no
Because
problem.
the state wanted to make sure that because we're partnering up with nonprofits,
Right,
developers, and they're going to take ownership, that they don't just flip it over
that's right.
as soon as they buy it. So that's why these covenants are very important.
Right. So that was a very relevant question. I figured, oh, he moved down. He was up here on my screen. There he is.
Yeah, that's because Pat Nave was a former city attorney, and you just can't get by this guy.
You can't get by.
Any
And
kind
he
of
moves.
deed
On my screen, he
restrictions
started
and
up here, then he went
covenants,
down.
and Pat Nave wrote the city charter, right? So you just can't get around this guy.
Got it. Thank you for that.
Anna,
question.
you had a question?
And you have such an honest face, Janice, too. I can't understand it.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So the question is where to start. Because my first question has to do with this BASH eligible. So what you are saying is that that's how they will actually pay for their room and board is through that BASH program?
That's right. And BASH eligible individuals are individuals that one of the key components for us is that they're eligible for veterans medical services. And as we understand, the homeless community, unfortunately, there are underlying issues that cause the condition of homelessness. Many times it's substance abuse, mental illness, PTSD. There's a variety of other issues that we have to get down to before a person can transition successfully into, back in society as a taxpayer. And I'll speak from my own experience being homeless for 3.5 years on Skid Row due to a substance abuse and alcohol issue. If I did not address those issues first, it didn't matter how many great jobs I got, because I had a ton of jobs. I just couldn't hold them. And, you got to buy housing in this world. And I wasn't able to buy housing because I didn't have the money because I couldn't hold the job. And so the medical eligibility is really a key component in this so that we can have access to all the tools that the individuals are going to need to successfully transition.
So it's more than just Section 8 housing. It's got all the services that come with it.
Much more.
That's great.
They're connected with services, not only the services that we're providing, but services that the Veterans Administration is providing. So, there's a lot of support for people to right their ship, so to speak.
Great. Janice, what do you mean when you talk about county oversight? What does that mean for this project?
So if I may, Diane, maybe I can answer that. So,
okay.
There's going to be an agreement done with the provider, which is Volunteers of America and the County of LA, because there's certain parameters and milestones that they need to hit. Upkeep of the property,
right.
Clients, what services are being offered, making sure that everything's being run right, because in the off chance, which won't happen, but you never know if it does, and the county needs to step in because the provider's not doing the right job or the developer's not doing the right job, we're able to. So that's what the supervisor meant by oversight. We won't own the property, but we can come in should things start going bad.
So there'll be some kind of a contract or MOU between the county and, right. And then will the county be putting money in for the services? Is that part of that process or?
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead.
Ivan. Many of the county, go ahead.
there in Project Home Key, there is a small portion of money matching funds that we as the county have to put in. So that's our contribution, and then the rest, correct me if I'm wrong, Orlando, comes from the VASH voucher and
That's
the
correct, the VA, absolutely.
Okay. What happens if you, for some reason, well, first of all, do I understand, Orlando, that there are only 60 rooms in that place? Is
There are
that
60 resident rooms, that's correct.
resident rooms? Yeah, they're not more than that. So,
No.
what,
No, I
what
thought
happens?
there was more.
Yeah, I
Every time
did
I
too.
mean, I was really surprised when they said 60. I'm like, that's because it seems so big.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the question, because I thought there would be more too. So what happens if you are unsuccessful or you deal with a lot of veterans and then there aren't 60 more, needing service at some point in time? Can you broaden your scope, or you're limited to veterans? What would happen then?
At this point, our target population is veterans. And, unfortunately, I'd love to say that we're on our way of working our way out of business, but we're not. So I don't anticipate with what's happening, now in Ukraine, no telling what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, that, unfortunately, folks are going to need transitional opportunities.
Mm.
But to answer your question, Lee, we are tied because of funding and our commitment to this population, to veterans at this point.
Okay, yeah, that was the question.
Okay.
And then what plans are you making in terms of any changes to the building, interior, exterior? What are your,
Well,
construction period, what's going to happen, I guess?
Yeah, so the majority of the rehab is going to take a lot of the common space, the big lobby and some of the other meeting rooms, and turn those into case management rooms and computer rooms for our guests. Around the pool, the pool is going to be covered, but it's going to be an area where we can have pets, have dog runs, and areas where guests can sit out with their pets and enjoy the sun and those sort of things. So a lot of the common areas that we would take advantage of as guests at the hotel are going to be working areas for Volunteers of America and the folks that we're working with.
And what about?
Can I just add, I love that, Orlando, because one of the things we have found in our efforts to, work with those who are unhoused, many people, if they have to choose between their dog or coming inside, they will choose their dog every single time.
Yeah.
And many of our shelters in the beginning in LA County, we were so rigid in terms of pets or couples, and it just made for so many reasons why people didn't want to come inside. They'd rather sleep on a tent outside if they could be with their dog. So we're trying to remove barriers for people to say yes to shelter, right? And so I love this, Orlando, that we're going to provide for dogs as well. And by the way, the Pedro Pet Pals, they actually partnered with me on our shelter at 8th and Beacon, and helped us with the dog run, helped us with the food, and the groomers. So the Pedro Pet Pals really likes to partner with us here to see how they can, help out and with people's pets. So I love that we're going to do that here.
And hopefully we'll have that same kind of relationships. And then, we've run shelters all over the county. And as we realize that these companions are really very therapeutic for many of the folks that we're working with, and to separate them will add trauma on top of trauma.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense. So working with community partners, make sure the pets get their shots, and have pet wash days. We're finding that all our shelters, that not only is the pet happy, but the owner gets really happy.
Yeah, that's really important. I was also asking about the exterior. Are you going to repaint it, do new landscaping? What changes do you see on the exterior?
We don't see any changes at this time. We will keep, what it's got going, maintain what it has going, respect the fact that it is, it's on a commercial corridor. And, it's kind of, when I've been over there, it sticks out. It's a big place. You know exactly where you are when you get there. So, you know, we cannot have any kind of rundown or, you know, maybe fuchsia pink or any other kind of wild colors going on. Although fuchsia pink isn't so bad.
It is, however, in need of repainting.
Absolutely. That's part of the rehab.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Linda Alexander, you had a comment or question?
Thank you, Janice and Orlando and Ivan. This is, and of course, Erica is a wonderful idea, and it's very exciting. And I love the comprehensive aspect of this facility. I'm maybe a little concerned that I guess you're not going to allow horses as therapeutic, you know. But I guess I'll have to make do with something smaller. Obviously and painfully, there's an endless resource for residents. But I'm wondering, is there a particular area that you will be recruiting from, or how do you select who would be coming from what appears to be an endless number of opportunities?
Right. So the referrals will come from the VA, and we'll be working with the Long Beach VA primarily. But we are setting a priority for individuals in the San Pedro area and SPA 8 in terms of you know, getting these rooms to folks that are close to their support groups, you know, close to their doctors, close to their families. You know, while people are homeless, they do have a sense of community. And it just doesn't make sense to uproot them completely from their community as opposed to integrating them successfully into their community. So that's going to be our priority in terms of, you know, prioritizing this particular property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see, we have a few other comments. Doug Eberhard?
Okay, there I'm unmuted. I just want to say, having attended a lot of these meetings, this is the first time I have ever not heard anybody complain about parking. But that leads me to ask this question. There appears to be fairly extensive area in the building that's parking. You know, if you don't need all that area, do you have any plans for building out maybe some of that area for additional use or some future idea for it?
There are no plans at this point for any kind of expansion of that sort. Obviously, you know, once we get on board, we get occupied. You know, our first thing that we want to do is make certain that we have our basic services in place. That the program is running the way it's supposed to run, that the community is very comfortable and engaged in what we're doing. You know, there's going to be a need for parking for this veteran population. It's not going to be a flop house. These folks are going to be moving around with their medical and other type of therapies, as well as job hunting. And, you know, again, that we're looking at single male veterans that probably don't want to stay single their whole life. So they're going to be moving along doing different type of things. But at this point, the short answer, no, we don't have any plans at this point for the parking lot.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We have friend in the attendee list.
Hi. So I'm driving, so I might have to mute, but do you have an idea about if any of the people are going to be coming straight from like the ER, having been in a crisis mode, and are you going to have the ability to detox someone who's been in crisis mode the way like a mental health crisis center would be able to? Or at what level of stable are you planning to admit? And then what happens if someone falls off the wagon, so to speak, and gets into crisis mode and they're out in the community, you know, doing meth on someone's front porch or something?
Right. Right. We will be able to, as part of our programmatic offerings, detox. Now, I'll answer your question in reverse. So persons that are already into the program and may have, different issues with substance and whatnot, we'll be able to address those as they come back into the program. But the VASH eligible target that we're looking at has to be fairly stable to get through the VASH eligibility process.
Right. And
So
are you planning to be able to keep them through 18 months, the 18 months it takes to have your brain recover from like methamphetamine addiction, so that you can further assess what comorbid mental illness they might have to treat it when they're actually sober 18 months later, when their brain has recovered some?
The clinical therapies that are going to be involved with our program will cover that whole spectrum of activities. And again, if we have an individual that is having an episode, they're resident of the program, we have wraparound services working with the Department of Mental Health, working with the VA, working with we have our own substance abuse programs ourselves to try to stabilize and address those underlying issues, if that kind of makes sense.
Because I think that's our greatest need, that we don't have enough long-term, mental health and rehabilitation for addiction services that keeps them engaged, that they can't really walk away from.
Right.
While they need that long-term care.
You're absolutely right. And I think, providing that stable housing with meals, with case management, with the camaraderie that's going to come from other veterans that are going through or have been through what they're going through. That's one of the highlights of really targeting a specific population for housing like this. And the housing itself, having a place, is going to provide that long-term stability for people to get better in.
And are you going to limit visitors that are not part of the program, so they can't just pop in and out at whatever hour they want to?
Yeah, traditionally, and it hasn't been very popular with some of our guests, but folks kind of understand, we do have curfews. We do have, you're there for a reason. You're there to better yourself. You're there to work on yourself. And if we can limit distractions by controlling the traffic, which goes in, and, the hours of operation, we think it's our responsibility to do so. And that's what we've done at our other hotels.
So you're able to keep their old buddy that has their favorite substance in their pocket from coming in and bringing it to them, basically.
We do have rules.
Okay. All right. Well,
we have rules, and our case managers and many of the VASH clinicians and the case managers have a similar background, if you will, and recognize some of the red flags in terms of what an individual is doing in their behavior and who they're hanging out with, and are able to connect with them in such a way that they understand that, this isn't judgment. This is, you said you had a goal, the place you want to go to, this is the best way to get there, if that makes sense.
Do you have a wave program or some kind of disciplinary thing where if they fall off of a certain level of cooperation with the program, there's another place that they need to go so that they are not disrupting everybody else there, basically?
We do have, in our rule set and behavioral contracts to help people, get to where they need to be. We know everybody's not going to go from A to Z,
Right. No, they'll go to A to C and back to A and then
back to A. And
right.
I went through 13 different recovery programs, over 17 years on this.
We make them go and attend a neighborhood council planning and land use 3 months in a row.
3 months in a row.
That's the punishment.
But no, those
That's
are
really
very
fair,
good.
Janice.
That'll straighten you.
Those are very good questions and very relevant to the populations that we have experience with. So we see this, and we've got rules, and when I talk about rules, I don't want you to get the idea this is a punitive or Or
No. I've
kind of a
worked in the
situation?
area, but I'm asking for the sake of the community too, that like, the veterans are more likely to have a high success because of their previous experience with
That's
being
right.
in a unit.
That's right.
However, like, I don't know if they would have the same success if you're randomly selecting 60 people that are just out of a crisis ER visit.
Yeah, we're not going to have that. I don't think anyone has gone through that type of crisis and trauma can actually get through the application process, frankly.
No, yes, I understand that. Okay. All right. And is there also some companion thing that your organization is involved with that is for helping the rest of the 66,000 people that are pretty much fresh from a crisis ER visit?
Okay, so I missed the first part of your question. Are you asking, do we have other programs?
Is there something you guys have in the works for the long-term mental health and rehab recovery program for the rest of the 6,000? Is there something in the works that's large and comprehensive like that is, because that's one of our greatest needs,
Right.
a great frustration to everyone that's trying to help. That's where do we get them 18 months of supervised care that they are vested in staying in so they can get to that point of brain recovery where we can see what else they might need. Because, the level of sobriety and recovery physically it just takes that long.
Well, I'll tell you, you're absolutely right. And in our quest to figure out how to, I hesitate to even say solve the homelessness crisis anymore, because I'm not sure we ever solve it. But the biggest issue we have is building up capacity for mental health beds. So we're trying to keep the folks who are mentally challenged out of our county jails. Like they will never get well, in a cell. So we don't want them in our jails. And yet our diversion efforts to work with judges and mental health professionals to divert them from jails, we have a capacity problem out in the rest of the county for these mental health beds. And that is one of the things that the County Board of Supervisors is continually working on to create capacity. But it's interesting. I mean, this feels like a really civilized Zoom meeting that we're having about bringing this project to San Pedro. But I will tell you, you talk about bringing those who have mental health crises to a neighborhood somewhere, particularly someone who we've diverted from jail. And there's very few neighborhoods who will agree to having a facility like that. The idea of large, mental health warehouses that we had, 50 years ago, they do not exist, nor do we want them to exist. But
no, we want villages that have pastoral land and
But I'm telling you, it's our biggest challenge is building capacity for mental health beds.
Thank you for the comments. Let's see, do I have any comments from Lori or Doug? Let's see, I have Pat.
Hi there, thank you. The last caller and comments that Janice made illustrates quite a few things. One, we need to have a really good engagement strategy with the community, so it's not a surprise. Hey, look, the veterans that were homeless before are living here. Janice, we need to make sure that somehow community members feel like they're included in the conversation and they know what's going on. There needs to be a strategy to let people know what this program's about. There's a lot of people out there that are waiting for problems to happen. You can almost hear it in the last caller. They're waiting for somebody to leave the facility and do something out on the street, and people are going to point and say, see, I told you it wouldn't work. And so we need that, those talking points. And, addressing that mental health, besides needing the facilities, we are very short on social service workers. And so we need to get more career development to get more people to work on the field, and my office is working with the county supervisors too on different programs. There's different levels of mental health facilities. There's board and care, there's more lockdown depending on, okay, but I don't think that's what this facility is all about. And there's always going to be somebody that does something that's causes a problem, but we need to get out in front of it and use this as an opportunity to show the success. When you give somebody the care that they need, the case management they need, a clean place to sleep, and show the turnaround and tell the success stories, we need to use this. We need to help the community make this work. And I don't know if there's a strategic community engagement plan, Orlando, to tell people. I mean, there's this, and I love Janice's punishment. I mean, that's terrible.
No, I mean, Lori, I mean, this is why I wanted to do it this way. I feel like this is community engagement with our neighborhood councils. You know, again, we went to the Chamber of Commerce, one of their committees, and they actually endorsed the project unanimously. They kind of gave us their full speed ahead thumbs up. So this was my idea of community engagement. And if you think we need to come to you know, other committees of your neighborhood council, or do you feel like, you know, you'll be able to carry the message in your spheres of influence?
Well, I wish that was true. I live, sleep, and breathe helping people get off the streets, but I'm trying to think what the neighborhood council, you know, there's very engaged people here at the meeting today. Okay. Yeah. You know, I'm on still for some reason on the outreach committee for the neighborhood council. And what is our role? You know, how does the outreach committee, you know, engage and let people know? So we probably need to have a talk amongst the three neighborhood councils. What is our role in the community engagement? Because we're not getting the people who are going to fight us attending this meeting.
Right.
No, I agree, but I do think you're influencers, right? You're influencers, and you know, inevitably, probably this will get, you know, the Daily Breeze will pick it up and will want to write a story. And my sense is, if you're the influencers and you're supporting this project, you would be able to, you know, give good comments about this project. And people do listen to you. People know who you all are. You all have a long history in this community. And will we be able to reach everybody? Probably not. But that's what neighborhood councils, in my opinion, are about. It's kind of a core group of people who care about San Pedro, and people do listen to you. They know who you are. You are all stakeholders in the purest form of the word when neighborhood councils were created. So I think it can go a long way with you. Again, in your own areas, your own influencers. Doug, I see you having coffee at Sirens every morning, right? You know, you know, bring that up at your next roundtable sitting out there in that parklet. That's what I mean.
Okay, that'll be tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but the faith comes from doing, as we know, with the old adage, right? So the more that we tell the success stories, okay, that's the telling. We just have to avoid any of the things, you know, something will go wrong. Okay, we had a problem with somebody, we're helping them out. The last caller was real concerned if somebody kind of falls off the wagon. It's going to happen. Okay, that happens no matter in any place in life. But I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm really taking to heart, how do we do, I mean, through the COG, it's one thing, but through neighborhood councils, it's a whole other animal. And I know that this town is full of a lot of NIMBYs. They just are.
Well, can I suggest something? You're going to need every single parking space to get the trainee mental health workers to park and come help, etc. So I wouldn't worry about having extra parking space. This is the exact kind of actual number of 50 or 60 guests that you would need to create a diversity of services. You know,
most shelters and interim and transitional housing, the parking is reserved for the staff running the place. They don't actually usually make available, unfortunately, enough parking for the people living there. So I'd like to see some of those spots left for the people living there. I'd like to think that if they're getting their life in order, that a car might be in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a facility that only has 12 or 15 is not going to be able to do what you can do with 50 or 60.
Right.
Because you're just not going to have, the level of visiting clinician or what have you. So that's one of the best things is this is a model for something of that size or bigger. So that's one of the best things to recommend it to the community, that there will be enough help, because what the community is upset about are these tiny group homes, where there's really not that much supervision because there's like one person or two people watching a small group and they can't go chasing after somebody who gets loose and does something that disturbs the neighbors. Whereas something of this size,
Hey, you've got 'em
it's
all.
different. It's different.
I
It is
totally
something
disagree
that-
with those comments, but
Well,
won't say anything.
Yeah,
I'm someone who like,
it's time to move on to we've got a couple other hands up, Javier.
Yes, Pat, you had a comment previously.
Well, I have a question really for Rock Ashfield. Rock, I don't know where you're wandering around. You got up from your chair. Can you hear me? Well, Rock is real progressive in terms of, the development of downtown and, the betterment of the community generally. And I wanted to get his kind of his real estate realtor view on the impact of a facility like this on the development of the other places in downtown. Did you hear all of that, Rock?
See, he's there, but
Hey, Rock,
Yes.
I had a question for you. I wanted to get your opinion or your thoughts on the impact of a facility such as this on the other development plans, in progress and in the future for San Pedro.
Well, I just have to say, I mean, I laud the merits of this thing, but, and that, maybe someone can fill me in on what's always going on in that hotel. Has it been successful or not? But it's just sort of like, here you have one of the gateways to coming into town, and you're going to have whatever this is here. It's sort of like the building that is going to be sort of affordable housing right at the bridge as you get into Harbor. And I had people complain, why are you doing this? Why are they getting better views than us? I go, it's really sort of tucked out of the way. The bridge housing is down there. It's actually sort of going to work. So I guess my mild hesitancy is like you got your main thoroughfare that we hope we're improving. And I'm not saying it will not improve, and it maybe could be actually great, but that's the one thought in my head is like, what could that turn out to be? And maybe it'll turn out to be a beacon of shining and whatever. So I really don't want to cast any negativity on it, but yes, I do have that feel, Pat, of what I think you're maybe alluding to.
And that's where we want to work with you, so that this could be sort of that castle on the hill as you're coming through San Pedro. We want to continue the conversation. This is not just, we're here to talk to the neighborhood council. Okay, bye, we're going to do our project. We want to continue the conversation as we're planning out, as VOA are moving people in, because we want to make sure that there's community involvement. We want to make sure that this place is beautiful.
But I think I heard on a previous call that Best Western reached out to you guys or somebody. Is that correct?
The owner of the Best Western, well, VOA worked with the owner of the Best Western, and then they reached out to the county to sell.
Yeah, because I think.
Yeah, I mean, these project room keys and home keys usually comes from the hotel owner themselves, right? Because they're kaput in terms of,
They want to get out of the business.
anybody ever staying there again as a tourist, right? So all these hotels and motels really went through a rough time this last 2 years. So
Right.
for them, they're usually the ones that approach the state and the county and want to be a room key or a home key because it's, it helps them out financially. And, it's a good structure. Most of these hotels and motels are good structures for this use. So yeah, we never do a hostile takeover of a motel or hotel. They always,
I understand.
they want us to buy them out.
Right. So sometimes that can be a symbiotic thing anyway. So it actually could maybe even improve what's going on there instead of detract.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for all of us, I know me, what's really heartbreaking, I think really what could hurt our town, right, is those who are unhoused, who we find wandering around all the time, sleeping on benches, and we know many of them are suffering from mental health challenges. I mean, we've all seen them, and those are the ones that our community sees. That's why there's probably a resistance to, building something like this. But to me, the best answer is to bring them inside. And as Orlando explained, give these veterans the real help that they need, and the mental health help they need, the substance abuse help that they need. It's a chance to change their lives. So, we're not helping them now, and they are wandering on our streets. But this is a chance for us to turn that tide. And I love, Rock, what you said, the beacon of light. I love it. That also speaks to who San Pedro is.
I have that trademark, by the way. And by the way, when things happen, and it's sort of like, why didn't you read? It's sort of weird coming from a real estate guy, but it's sort of like, I'm agreeing with you. It's like, give them the help and it'll be better. And if anybody's driven by the VA cemetery recently, and I was there last July, and I could not believe my eyes, such a clean, pristine place. And there's tents all around that with American flags and stuff. We really do not have the problems that the rest of LA has. And maybe this can be a real positive for us.
I'd like to see-
Copies of my speech can be found online, just for the record.
Dixon, you had a comment.
Me?
Yes.
Thank you. I can't imagine a happier shift in usage for that building at First and Gaffey. Our ersatz Versailles has been an eyesore for decades. And we all remember who built it, but never mind. It's been hopeless and hapless and ugly for 30 years. And now it's hopeful, helpful, and it's looking better by the minute. I think we're getting a wonderful opportunity to serve a specific group of struggling people who I believe we all agree are not only worthy, but are absolutely to be taken care of by the society that in most cases started their problems for them. So I think it's fantastic. It's a win-win-win. And I just wish there were 600 rooms instead of 60.
And let's face it, Best Western's logo is awful. It's just awful. It looked better when it was a Holiday Inn.
Thank you, Dan, for those. Thank you for saying that. That just warmed my heart to hear you talk like that. That is a beautiful spirit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I I don't know if we have any left comments, or have we allowed everybody?
Doug may still have his hand up.
I do.
Is that previously or current, Doug?
What's that?
You have a comment, last comment, or?
I do actually.
Okay, go ahead.
I would be astounded that anybody would think this is not a good idea. But from a practical step, by the way, I can point to veterans in my family going at least as far back as the Civil War. And anything we can do for any of them, we should be doing. Okay. So that's the first thing. But now to a practical matter, Diana or Javier or whoever. Somebody have a motion for the neighborhood councils to support this? Has anybody written one?
Not yet. This is the first I know of it, so it will be coming.
All right, because I mean, we have a meeting coming up in June, so I don't see why Coastal wouldn't adopt it.
Yeah, definitely. and our meeting is actually ahead of the board meeting, so I could do that on our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, if somebody could write that up and shoot it over, that would be helpful.
So can this joint committee make a motion to support it in concept, or is that how this works? I don't know how this works.
We didn't have it on the agenda for an action item. We
Well, now,
can,
when I read your agenda, it said anything on this agenda can lead to a motion. Let me see what paragraph that was.
what we can do when we do it, each of the three committees has to vote on it individually. Even, we can do it here, but we each vote individually. And I think,
Coastal doesn't have a quorum, but we will have a meeting prior to our board meeting. So it's not it should be very doable.
So we can do it all on our individual meetings.
Yeah, our meeting is next Wednesday, so we'll be ahead of the board meeting, and we could do that.
We do have a quorum. We're the only one that does have a quorum, but I think it'd be easier if we just do it at our meeting, since we haven't prepared a motion ahead of time.
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Lori,
Yeah, well, obviously the support from our neighborhood councils is key to, I think, this being successful. And that's how I believe.
We really appreciate you coming, Janice, to bring this to us and talk to us about it and get the word out.
And by the way, I just wanted to quickly say, I do have my talking points for sirens tomorrow morning.
Oh, good. Well, I was very excited when I heard all of the kinds of services that are going to be available, because that's so crucial to working with this population. And I certainly didn't understand that from the meeting at the chamber. I didn't understand that whole BASH housing, what that meant. I actually thought that meant when they left here, then they got this like Section 8 to go someplace else. That's what I was assuming it meant. So it was really good to have that explanation.
Would it be helpful, or maybe you guys already have it, would it be helpful for each of the committees to have their own fact sheet about this?
Yeah, it would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Okay, who can do that?
We'll get that to them, Supervisor.
Okay.
I know VOA.
Because it's a really good fact sheet. It really lays it out exactly the kinds of services and maybe that's helpful as you go about talking. We can drop one off at Sirens tomorrow morning.
Linda, you had a comment?
Well, Eugenia's had her hand up for a while. So
Eugenia, go ahead.
Hi, I actually just got my hand up because I just thought of this thought and I wanted to inquire about that. As far as I remember, there is a liquor store right across the street. So I was concerned if that would be a problem for the recovering veterans being in such proximity, or is there a way for us to up the liquor license?
Liquor store?
I just kind of was concerned about that because I know like people who struggle with substance and alcohol abuse, and having such a close proximity of the liquor store is really tempting. So I just really thought of that.
They also sell socks, so that's good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that the proximity of the liquor store is going to make a difference. Again, going from my own personal experience, I went where I had to go.
Okay.
Across the street, or 5 miles to get what I thought I needed at that point. So it really comes down to how well we can craft a vision of hope for these individuals, so their focus can be in a different direction, and give them the support that they need to address those underlying issues. So, again, with the community coming together, some of the words I heard today, that I heard last week, I'm feeling even more excited about this project being in San Pedro. I think we've got a very engaged community. We've got a knowledgeable community, a community that really cares for itself. And those type of values are the same type of values that we have as an organization, and we try to instill in the clients that we work with. So, and we see that in many of our programs. When clients start to turn the corner, they start caring more about their community. They start caring more about not only how they look and how they fit into the community. So this is a good thing. And with our priority of, looking for veterans or prioritizing veterans from this community, I think we can help rekindle that personal pride and community pride and community.
Now,
pride.
you've just touched on something, Orlando, that I think it's worth spending some time in the future pursuing. And that has to do with community engagement
Yes.
of your, I think that.
Very, very open for that. And
Yeah.
in fact, I look for it.
I also,
Basically,
I also want,
what he just described was Beacon House, right? That's
Right.
our experience in San
Yep.
Pedro is Beacon House, right? The Beacon
Yep.
House men who go through the recovery program,
Right.
but a huge part of what they do is give back to San Pedro, and they have become our kind of our base volunteer group for every event in San Pedro, from a Christmas parade to a film festival to the Beacon House men are ready to come and help us in whatever need that we have. So what you just described is a organization that we're all very familiar with here in San Pedro.
Janice, I was just thinking about that. I don't know of any incidents with them. They weren't responsible for the homeless encampment or anything like that. They were, quote unquote, beacon to everything that goes on down there. So absolutely.
and I think their involvement in the community has actually led to some of the community acceptance as well. So I think it's a really important point. I also.
It's also made them, it also helped them with their individual wellness. Again, I'm telling you from personal experience, being a part of something bigger than yourself allows you to get out of, some of the selfish things that we do in addiction. So to have a community with open arms that allows us to be a part of something else, that's huge.
I also want to say, I think that we're really fortunate to have you heading up this project, because I think your depth of experience brings a lot in terms of both being able to talk about your own experience and how that affects, but also a sense for the rest of us of security, knowing that you understand and know the kind of ins and outs at a very intimate level of working with this population.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Linda.
Yeah, I'm tracking you, Orlando, because I've been a friend of Bill W. for many decades now. So, and I also am a certified recovery counselor. So I love everything you're saying, and but it will be helpful to have the basic facts sheet. I don't know if Doug is going to prepare an elevator speech for us to be able to spit that out, because there will be backlash. There will be. Yeah. So the fact that we've got a whole bunch of people here that are concerned about recovery and we're concerned about our veterans is, really the best focus, and a little bit of fact sheet, because I didn't take notes on all the services. So that'll be very helpful.
No, we're going to I think Ivan's going to update it a little bit, get it to Erica, and then Erica will send it to
Diane to give it to
Diane, and then you can get it to, Diana can get it to everybody.
Right.
Yes, that's what we'll do.
I think Dan should help write an elevator speech.
Too, I was thinking, man, to let Dan talk, and it'll melt any hard heart that happens to come our way.
I'm going to let him give the report at our board meeting. I know that.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for giving us a presentation. I think we are all looking forward to this type of project in town, and we like to hear more as the project develops. So absolutely. Thank you again.
Is my email on any of the documents that you guys have, my contact information?
Orlando,
Diana, do you have it?
I'll be putting your contact information on the fact sheet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
He just wants his email.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll put your contact in minutes.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you,
Do I
everybody.
need to give it to you or
I
stay
love
somewhere?
my neighborhood councils. I love you guys.
Thank you.
You're what it's all about. You're the dream come true.
Well, you've been doing a great job on this issue, Janice. We really appreciate
Well,
all the
it's-
work that you've done on
Thank
it.
you. It's hard. And, but I just, I'm all about finding solutions and that's what we got to do. And I love our town because we're mostly accepting. And mostly we have open arms to those who need a second chance. So I do like that about us.
Good job.
Okay, good night.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
Good night.
Janice. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Dan.
Yolanda's gonna stay with us, though.
I'm gonna
Okay.
hang out though, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
not me.
See you guys.
Thank
I wanted
you.
to talk about Blue Butterfly.
Bye.
Yes, that's our next item.
But before you go there, we forgot to announce, oh, the person left. Okay, if there were students, they've left, so never mind. Okay.
Okay,
And announced about students.
yeah. We have an update on the Blue Butterfly Village. Orlando is going to give us an update.
Yeah, so Blue Butterfly Village was a project that was long in the making. Some folks have heard about the naval housing up above 5 Points, which we have converted into housing for veteran families, specifically female head of household that have experienced, various levels of trauma, in and out of service. We looked at developing 73 units. There are 2-bedroom, 2-story units, perfect for families. 12 of those units are designated for the Department of Mental Health because they did not have any family housing opportunities in San Pedro. So they really, really wanted a piece of this, and we thought that would be an appropriate thing to do. But the other 61 units are for largely female head of household, although we do have, I think there are 2 male head of households at Blue Butterfly Village. Idyllic, it's up on the hill. We've had some great partners. A group of architects and designers came in and designed, all the interiors for each of the places. So almost all of them are unique. It was this huge group of designers and artists that came in and made each apartment their own, which was really, really kind of neat. Got playgrounds for the kids. Our partner Home Depot came in and did some terrific landscaping and made it a really friendly family village up in that area. The funding for this is multifaceted, tax credit funding, along with several different types of loans. That has created a little bit of challenge in getting folks in because it's not just being VA eligible, but also qualifying for other funders areas. But we are approaching, I believe it's close to 75% occupancy on the veteran side. The mental health side is a little bit easier. DMH has a long waiting list of folks to get in. We have a VASH waiting list as well, but again,
Corner table.
hello? All right. Yeah, qualifying for the VASH is only one aspect. You still have to qualify under some of the other lenders. So those are challenges that we are working through and have been working through for over close to 7 years now. The structure of this development is Volunteers of America Los Angeles is one of 44 affiliates across the country, each one doing business that makes sense in their community. Volunteers of America Los Angeles, along with Volunteers of America New York, are obviously the biggest and broadest of our affiliates. But we partnered with Volunteers of America National, based out of Virginia, which is the 3rd largest affordable housing provider in the country, to own and partner and develop this particular process. So what we have is the management company from the real estate side is Volunteers of America National. They're out of Virginia. The program operating side is Volunteers of America Los Angeles, which is us here in Los Angeles. So we're 49% owners in the building, but we operate it completely in terms of client interactions, recruitments, and those sort of things, along with our partners, the VA, Department of Mental Health, etc. That's kind of just, kind of the overview of what the project is for folks that weren't familiar with it. Have any of y'all seen it, by the way? Really? Okay, we gotta do something about that.
It's really
Yeah,
hidden.
it's gotta be Frank. Where is it? I don't know where 5 Points is.
Okay, so let me get the exact address, because it didn't have an address, because
Well,
it
your
was a
address
civil
isn't
property.
gonna help.
I mean,
The address isn't gonna help.
it's not gonna help.
Is it by Rolling Hills Prep in that?
It is, right next to.
Do you know where that is?
Rolling Hills Prep.
Yep,
Yeah, we're right next. In fact, we share the top of the hill with them.
Yeah.
okay.
It's former military housing that
Right.
was converted. And they did a fabulous job, as he said, of converting it into these families.
Can we just drive in there and just look around?
You can't. We do have security at the front, and for good reason. Obviously, our clients going through various trauma.
Right.
But I'm happy to, take a tour up there or let folks know you're coming. Then you're able to go through and see what we're doing up there.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that we're kind of at the top of the hill. And as you come up the hill, the education institution owns the other property, and it has not been rehabbed.
Right.
So it's a little bit tough to look at. We're trying to acquire that. We'd love to be able to acquire that, but we haven't had any success with it to expand what we're doing. But you got to see what we've done up there. It's absolutely amazing.
Who owns that property? I'm sorry,
The
Orlando.
school.
Oh, the
Rolling Hills Prep,
Rolling
yeah.
Hills Prep. Oh,
Yeah, so the way this was Navy, owned by the Navy, obviously. And I think it was in 2006. Negotiations were over 3 years, 2006 to 2009. We were able to get that property, 9 acres, donated to us. As part of the agreement, some of it went to the school, who also qualified for, it's called surplus property that the US government has, that they're not using any longer. So they have part of the property, we have part of the property, and there was a developer that through negotiation, we had to give another portion of the property to, which he developed into high income housing or something. I don't know what he did with it.
Ultimately part of Ponte Vista.
Okay, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so so those are our neighbors, and we have a great relationship with the school. But we would like to get our hands on that housing that's down below.
And you had a comment?
Is that me?
Yes.
Thanks. You're cutting in and out. Marymount College, of course, is closing. Are there properties up there, units up there that have been used as dormitories? And if so, are those part of any of this mix? Or is that a separate piece of property?
I think this is news. You said Marymount is closing?
Yes.
yes.
Really?
And this is its last month.
Yeah.
So if there is housing there that's been used for dormitories, that
There
will
has.
be, well, then I would ask the question.
And there's probably someone in our real estate development, either locally or in partner with our national development that are looking at that. But I definitely want to bring that back to our executive team in case they haven't.
I think Rock may have left to make a phone call. Oh, there he is. Anyway, it's a natural fit for more units of what you're talking about.
Right.
Certainly something to be looked at.
I'm sorry, Leonard, go ahead.
No, just the last piece again, for because you guys haven't been up there, but to get up there, I don't want to say it's isolated, but there's a certain level of privacy to that we believe really helps with the type of trauma that we're trying to address.
Orlando, could it be possible to maybe schedule like a group visit?
Yeah, we could do that.
That way be more organized and we won't bother the residents as much. And we could all be there at the same time.
Okay, so let's do this. I think the best way to organize that, you'll have my contact information. And those that are interested, pick a team leader, shoot me an email of the folks that want to come and some dates that kind of work. I'll talk to staff and make certain, because we obviously want to let our guests know, our residents know, that we'll have folks coming through. And maybe even get a chance to meet some of the folks that want to talk if you have an interest in that. We have room, we can have a lunch up there at the little park and just kind of hang out a little bit and learn a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it would be great to get to see what's happening up there.
Okay, let me do something, because a message just popped up on my screen. You cannot move a video while someone has their hand raised. I didn't know I was trying to move a video. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so reach out to me via email. And let me know kind of the time frame and the numbers, and we'll get it set up.
By the way, Loyola is my latest listing, so just for the record. I was just going to ask the question: how did this happen? Does anybody know? I heard someone had just bought it, and now they're closing it down.
The school?
I understand.
The school that
didn't go through.
The school that bought them or merged with them couldn't make it work on paper, let alone in real life.
And why did they buy it?
So they didn't buy it. It was a merger.
Oh.
So whatever the property issues are, whatever's to be done with the property on PV East remains to be seen. That's a subject for Rancho Palos Verdes.
Right.
But anyway, it's sad because it's been there 60 years. It's been a very nice part of the community.
And the property where the housing is we're talking about is City of LA, that side.
Right. So, which is why it's relevant here. Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, we went through a long process to become part of the City of LA. From addresses to electricity to water. Oh man, that was so much work.
Yeah. So Orlando, you tell us a little bit about kind of what's happened with the residents there. How long are people staying? What kind of services are they needing? And what's the mental health? What's different about that group? Just give us a little bit more information about what's happening.
Yeah, so the traumas aren't so different than the populations we're going to be serving at the former Best Western in terms of PTSD and some of the trauma. We do have, a lot of why we selected this population, female head of household veterans, was the trauma suffered in the military and out of the military. And so the only unique aspect to our service delivery is that that's targeted for women with children or men with children. So now we're going to need to not only just worry about the adult, we've got to worry about the children's health and the trauma that they've experienced being separated from their parents once while they were at service, and another time when they went through whatever they went through when they came back. So there's a lot more family unification. There's a lot more 360, if you will, tablet of services that we offer. In addition, this is project-based Section 8 or subsidized housing. And so when families stay with us for 1 year, they then go to what's called the choice voucher, which is a subsidized housing tool that they can live anywhere with. So that leads kind of into, what's been happening with the population. I think we've had maybe 20 people move out, get married, get a job, move to another state, move with their parents, variety of different reasons that, people move from place to place. Like, you and I have, family decisions that we have to make. Again, the HACLA, or the Housing Authority of Los Angeles, is one of the component pieces that actually issues the certificate. The Veterans Administration makes they have to be eligible through the Veterans Administration. They get one check mark, then it goes to HACLA, and then there's a couple of dots that we have to get signed up for some of the other lenders, the tax credit financing and otherwise. While it's arduous, it is something that is a point-by-point step, and it does take a little time. So I think that's contributing to, you know, our 75% occupancy at this point. We've got a lot of people in the pipeline. We just got to try to push them on through. But in general, people don't leave an awful lot unless there's a family situation. I think, frankly, we've had one family kind of crash and burn that just could not get what they needed and simply left. But most of the families transition successfully into the next phase of their life.
So what about jobs? What about school?
And so they go to local schools. And, you know, if the children are young enough, we have a Head Start very near there, and a pre Head Start and a Head Start. So we automatically get them hooked into that. I know one of the families, you know, I was watching, because my son played high school football and he's in college, and one of the families has a couple of kids that are playing at San Pedro High that are doing really well. So I was kind of tracking that a little bit. It was really neat because I met the mom when she first came into the program, a very, very dynamic young lady, a naval veteran. And she told me about her boys, and so happy to be back with her boys. And so I've been kind of tracking her, and to watch her boys, read about them in the paper and all this kind of stuff. Oh my goodness, we're doing something right. We're making families whole again. So, you know, it's I think it's a beautiful program. And I want to get back to more succinct answer of your question. So if I'm getting off, let me know. I'm in PR, I get paid by the word. So, so bring me back in.
Let's see, we have a comment from our friend in the attendees. Could you get your name, please?
Okay.
Are you there?
Hi, now you might be able to hear me. So
Yes.
hi, yes. So Orlando, I'll email you about the Marymount property. I used to work there,
Okay, great. Thank you.
so I'm pretty familiar with it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So and if I can't find your email in the notes for this, what organization do I contact to find your email?
Okay, can I give it now verbally?
I'm still in the car. We're
Oh, you
delivering
are.
stuff.
Okay.
Like I'm
Volunteer.
parked in the car, but it's still.
Our email thing is, my name is Orlando Ward.
I can
And our
see that.
email
Yeah.
thing is real simple. It's oward@voala.org. So
Oh, okay. You're with VOA. Okay, no problem. I can find it. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And there might be nuns still living there, so I'm not sure if that's the nuns might be willing to co-share their lives with other programs. They're really super nice because they've been co-sharing with the students for all these years.
Right.
And they're beloved by the students. So, but I'm not sure the Catholic organizations are ready to give up.
Could you tell us your name, please?
My name's Kristen Anderson. I'm a producer of documentaries, and I'm working on a homeless documentary that I've been doing for a number of years. So, but I also happen to have worked at that property. So not as a documentary producer, you know, on other things. But yeah, but the Catholic organizations are still trying to figure out if they can use it for educational. But yeah, the key thing I think will also be they don't want to uproot their nuns that are still there.
Right.
So, but you can try. Who knows? Stranger things happen.
Well, I believe that's all the comments we have for you, Orlando.
And again, please share my email. Questions come tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Just shoot me an email and I'll respond as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Diana, maybe we can coordinate with Orlando on the site visit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
you and I can get together and figure that out.
Excellent.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you all for
Orlando.
having me. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for your time and very interesting information.
Thank you. Bye, all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda, which is updates on other items of interest to the committee. Diana, do we have any?
I have a few, not a lot, but a few. The grinder, that site has been purchased by Trammell and Crow. And they are looking to start construction by the end of the year. They'll be at our meeting in that's next month, June. They'll be at our June meeting to kind of give us an update and to meet us. It's all entitled already, but just kind of an update. The connectivity plan has been delayed. The port's saying, well, because of COVID, I don't know, because of COVID, it's been delayed. I'm not quite sure why. They're now anticipating it'll go to the Border Harbor Commissioners in July. They're really talking like they're really planning to move the USS Iowa and use that space for cruise vehicles, cruise ships. You probably know that the NOP for the amphitheater is out and comments are due June 15th. And then the last thing is that in mid-June, there's going to be a concert event in the Outer Harbor by the Insomniac group, which may be a good opportunity to listen to what the sound ramifications are of having concerts in the Outer Harbor. So that was it.
Diane, when you
Yeah,
have a chance, would you give me the contact for the developer at the grinder, because filming is desperate to get parking, and that might be an option for them.
Oh, okay.
When you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Rock, you got a comment?
Yeah. By the way, there is parking in the Topaz structure, by the way, and I understand for Fleet Week. I understand one of the problems there, they always shut down at 9. They're going to be open till 11 during the Fleet Week weekend, FYI. And by the way, that means we have open house 5 p.m. tomorrow during the welcoming party. So if you come on down and you're by us, please come on in. We'll have refreshments and all that other kind of stuff. And I had a question for you, Diana. Do you know what is going on that strip center across from Marie Callender's and RPV that keeps losing people? Do you have any idea what's going to happen there? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I do know what you're talking about. And yeah, it's been losing people and it's been up for sale, and it's been designated as possibly having housing with the bottom floor by RPV as a part of their housing plan would be the bottom floor commercial, and then multi-use with units above. So that's, but you know, you've got to have a developer that wants to do that. So
it's really funny. You close down, was it Blazing Wings or whatever, that Raising Cane, and then you're going to put apartments there or whatever. It's sort of funny. Anyway. Any comments on any news on what the Marie Callender site might be?
No.
Okay.
I'd ask you as a realtor if you'd heard anything.
When I don't know, then no one knows, right? So
right.
that's why I'm asking you.
That's embarrassing, Rock.
Can I ask Rock a question about the Marymount property? Did you say you have a listing for the Marymount?
I was kidding.
He was kidding.
Oh, dang.
I thought he was kidding.
Tongue in cheek.
That was news to me, though, that nuns were living there.
That's another one.
That was interesting.
It's holy ground.
Sounds like chaperones to me.
Yeah. It's Fleet Week.
Yeah, I've always missed Fleet Week because it was Labor Day weekend and I was always at my fantasy football draft. So it's actually cool. From my window, I see sailors and all sorts of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen. There's a tall ships thing down there. By the way, the Intercut, the LA Maritime's going to have their things. There's a lot of stuff going on down there.
A lot of stuff.
Take a motion to adjourn.
Well, wait, we have public comment on items not on the agenda before we.
I think we've already done that.
We merged.
True. Very well. See none. Oh, Frank.
Yeah, I just want to note that the what's the disposition, or what's What's happening at the old Coco site since they lost their lease? Any news?
I thought I heard a Starbucks or something, but not a Starbucks. There was something in there.
I haven't heard any news. I was hoping to talk to the council office about it today, but the call got canceled, so I didn't get to talk to them. I emailed the council office about it and didn't hear anything back. So they probably don't know anything either.
I think the council has left the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Next one fills in. Very well. Well, then we will
And they were
adjourn our
10.
meeting. And we'll see you guys on the 22nd of June. And
Thank you.
Thank
in
you.
my committee, we have a meeting next week, so please hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Way to
night.
go, Dan. Good to see you here, by the way.
Talk to you later.